In this episode, we are going to talk about Mobutu Sese Seko. Mobutu Sese Seko's story is too long that can be covered in more than one recording. In this initial recording, we are going to talk about him from the time he was born to the time that he became the head of state of Congo. You remember, there used to be two Congos. There was what today is called Congo Brazza and Congo Kinshasa. I'll tell you why there were two. There is a river. First of all, there is a tribe. There's a tribe and a language called Congo, or even Bakongo. Franco Luambo Luanzo Maskiadi was a Congolese, not a Congolese nation only. He was a Congo by tribe. These are people who are on both sides of the river Congo. Just like I don't know whether I know of any river that is named after a tribe, but that is how it was. So when Belgium came, they colonized on one side, and French came and colonized the other side. So the side that was colonized by Belgium was called Belgian Congo, and the other by French was called the other one was called French Congo. Later on, they changed their names, and mostly they are known as Congo Kinshasa and Congo Brazzaville. In the initial name for Kinshasa was Leopoldville. Leopold was the king of Belgium. Brazza is somebody, a French, who came there the first time. And you'll find that it's Brazzaville and Leopoldville. Ville or ville means the town. So this was the town for Leopold, and this one for Brazza. That is how the two Congos came. Now, later on, when it became, they became independent, this one called itself Democratic Republic of Congo, and this other one was called, it was called Republic of Congo, and the other one was called Democratic Republic of Congo, yeah. The Republic of Congo and Democratic Republic of Congo. But then Mobutu later came and changed the name from the Republic of Congo and called it Zaire. What is the meaning of Zaire? Zaire, it's a word that means the river that swallows other rivers. I'm sure Wetangula is happy to hear that, because that is his political slogan, that the big river swallows other rivers. So Zaire, the meaning is the river that swallows other rivers. Why he decided that the country should be changed to that, maybe it was a political. And then the river itself was called River Congo. River Congo, over 80% of it is in Congo Kinshasa, DRC. But then 20% is in Congo Brazza. But he decided on his own to name it River Zaire. And that is how it is. But today we are talking about his history. I'll say that he was born in 14th October 1930. And mostly people know him as Mobutu Sese Seko. That is the name that was accepted, although he was born Joseph DESIRE Mobutu. He was born Joseph DESIRE Mobutu, and he changed his name to a very long name, which today we'll not talk about it, but it has to do with activities of a cock that does not see any hen and leaves it. So he was born Joseph Desire Mobutu. His mother used to work in the hotel. She was a waitress in a hotel. Um, there was somebody who was pursuing her for marriage uh, in an urban area, and she didn't like that man, so she had to go back where she had go. She had to move from where she used to stay to the other part um, of Leopoldville. She moved to the other part, and that is when she met a cook. She met a cook of a judge. She met a cook of a judge, and the cook was called Bemani. Bemani used to be a cook of a judge. The judge was French. The judge was French. And then soon after marrying this person, now we don't know whether she deliberately got married to this. You know, when you are pursuing a girl and you hear she's married, you leave her alone. So I don't know whether she got married to this cook so as to discourage the person who was chasing her. But then she got married and led a happily, is that what we call happily married life? Yeah, she led a happily married life. Soon after marrying this fellow, 1930, October 14th, she gave birth to Mobutu. Mobutu is a name that was granted to him by an uncle of his. Nobody has ever told us what the meaning of Mobutu is in the vernacular. 8 years after he was born, that is 1938, his father died. The judge, the French judge, liked him. I don't know whether it is also the feeling that somebody, when your employee dies, you feel that you have to raise your employee's kids. The judge had a liking for Mobutu, and he started teaching Mobutu French literature when Mobutu was still very, very young before going to school. Mobutu was very tall because by the time he was in school, he was over 6 feet tall. He was very good in sports. He was very good in academy, and he even was the editor of the school newspaper or school magazine. It was while he was in school. Remember, Congo Kinshasa was colonized by the Dutch, and Congo Brazzaville was colonized by the French. So the Dutch, while teaching the Mobutu in school, they could mispronounce French. You know, Belgium is divided into two. There are some parts of Belgium where they speak French, and there is another part of Belgium where they speak German. So, but Mobutu was raised by a judge who was French. He was brought up by a judge who was French. And this judge was not just French, he taught him, even before he started going to school, he taught him French literature. So when this Dutch mispronounced something, he would correct them. Now look at it at an African boy correcting a Dutch in French. For a lack of a better example, let me give you an example. You are maybe in Nairobi, you are a Kiswahili teacher, and you are brought up in Mombasa, and your Kiswahili teacher is from Kampala. So wakati anasema hichi chiti, hapana, tunasema hiki kiti. I've only given an example. So he used to correct them and tell them how to pronounce properly in French. He went after school, he joined the seminary. He wanted to be a priest. While at the seminary, he was caught red-handed seducing a girl. So it was terminated. Then he chose, he was given an option when he was caught red-handed. He was caught red-handed seducing a girl, and he was a seminarian. So he was told to choose between two things. Do you join the military or you go to prison? Hey, Watenga alipenda askari tangu standard 1. Anyway, he but leave alone me. Hata wewe, if you are told you are young, you are told to choose between prison and the work in military, what would you choose? He chose the military. While doing sentry duty, sentry ni kale kasanduku kanakuwaga hapo kwa gate ka watchman or ka askari. While he was doing sentry duty, he started reading through correspondence. Those of my age know that a lot of people learned through correspondence. We did not have as many universities as today. We had very few universities, not as many as of today. So since we had very few colleges and whatever, there is a certain type of education which used to be there that used to be called uh, correspondence. Instead of you going to class and to be with a teacher, you used to be, they would send you a parcel of notes and you read on your own. And then on the day of exams in Kenya, they had around 7 or you go to provincial headquarters where you would now all sit together. You'll sit for an exam as though you were in school. So he did a correspondence and he passed in both accounts and journalism. Accounts and journalism. So when he passed those two, he decided to marry. He married, and his salary for that month that he never married in church. You remember the incident. He just married Kiafrika, and the salary for that day he bought a lot of beer for the fellow soldiers to drink. In 1956, he quit the army to concentrate full time on journalism. 1956. In 1958, he went to Belgium to study journalism on a higher level. It was in Belgium that he found a lot of Congolese, now can I say Zairians, who were freedom fighters. He befriended them and was the personal aide of Patrick Lumumba. He was the personal aide of Patrick Lumumba. But it is generally believed that he was a spy he was the spy of the Belgium authority while being the personal assistant to Lumumba. After independence, after independence, Joseph Kasavubu was the president and Patrice Lumumba was the prime minister. Now, if you check some of the videos that I've recorded in the past, there are videos I talk about, in those videos I talk about the French constitution. Now, if you compare the French constitution to a Kenyan, I would say that the 2007-2013 coalition government is the easiest example we can have of the French constitution, because there are two people and both of them are powerful. The president and the prime minister. They may or may not be from the same party. But what I understand is that the prime minister in a French country is more powerful than the president. The president is more or less, it's like the prime minister has 60% of the powers and the president has 40%. In other countries, you find the president is ceremonial, maybe with 5% and the prime minister 95. But in French, the prime minister has 60 and the president has 40. So him having worked in Belgium and being the PA to Patrice Lumumba in Belgium, he wanted to work in the prime minister's office, but he was made the secretary general of the presidency. Now, the secretary general of the presidency is like a controller of the state house. To a Kenyan, I can say it's a controller of the state house. He was not happy. He was not happy because he had lost direct connection with Patrick Lumumba. And whenever he wanted to meet Patrick Lumumba, it would be long. And he would have preferred to work in the Patrick Lumumba's office. On 5th July 1960, there was mutiny. There was mutiny. Before I continue, before I comment on mutiny, you'll find a lot of my age mates, people who were born in 1960 and 1961 in Kenya, especially among Luos and Luhyas. Find a lot of them called Patrick Lumumba. If you find somebody around my age and is called Patrick Lumumba, he was born either 1960 or 61. He was not born in 59, no. And he was not born in 1962, no. 60 and 61. Of course, we have Patrick Lumumbas who have been named after those and so on and so on. But I wanted to tell Kenyans how they name Patrick Lumumba. You know the lawyer, PLO Lumumba, he's called Patrick Lodge Odhiambo Lumumba. He's my age mate. So on 5th July 1960, there was a mutiny among the army. And when there was a mutiny among the army, there were only two people who could talk to the military and they hear. There was one called Maurice Mpolo and the other one was Mobutu. These are the people whom the military could hear. They could not listen to the Minister for Defense. They could not listen to the President. They could not listen to the Prime Minister. But when Maurice Mpolo or Mobutu went to talk to them, they would listen. So these two people talked to the military people and the mutiny was cooled. Now it was decided that one of them was to be the army commander. One of them was to be the army commander. Now the question was, who was to be the army commander? Of course, in such a situation, when you are looking for something together, you tend to be enemies. You tend to be enemies. So Maurice Mpolo and Joseph DESIRE Mobutu became enemies. But only one had to head the army. Luck was on Mobutu's side. So Mobutu, a former sergeant of the army, was reinstated back to the army under the rank of colonel. He was made a colonel, army colonel, and the head of the military. Polo was made the Secretary General of the ruling party. Secretary General of the ruling party, this was equivalent to Kamodo. We call it Kamodo, yeah. We have so many secretaries generals of political parties, isn't it? So he was made the Secretary General of the political. But Mobutu was not happy. You know, after differing whatever, he knew that, this is it African or is it animal kingdom? When I defeat you, you go home. If you go to other side, you'll start gaining powers and whatever. And Mobutu akazusha. He hit the roof. He did not want Maurice Mpolo to be given any job. So he raised matters and it happened that Joseph Bolo was relieved of his duty as the Secretary General of the ruling party. That time, Joseph Kasavubu was the president and Patrick Lumumba was the prime minister. So Patrick Lumumba invited USSR to come and start reconstructing the country. The USA, together with Kasavubu, were not happy. So the USSR was invited into Congo by the prime minister, and the president Joseph Kasavubu invited the USA. It reached a time when they differed. They were not on talking terms. The prime minister, using his powers as the prime minister, sacked the president, and the president being the president sacked the prime minister. Each one sacked each other. It was said that a reconciliation be brought, and the person to reconcile them was none other than Joseph DESIRE Mobutu. When Joseph DESIRE Mobutu tried to reconcile them, they could not agree. So we could say that was the first coup because on 14th September 1960, him as the army commander, Colonel Joseph DESIRE Mobutu, sacked them both and placed there something that was called College of Commissioners General, to rule. Uh, it is just like Uganda, Paul Mwanga, even when he was the prime minister, he brought in something that he called the Presidency. There were three of them. So the three, when they signed something, it is seen as the head of state has signed that. So he brought in the College of Commissioner Generals. That was in September, 14th September 1960. Remember, then they stayed for some days. That was September 1960. They stayed for some months up to 17th July. 17th July, it was a Monday, a day after I had been born. The day after I had been born, Lumumba was said to have disappeared. Nobody, uh, nobody had seen him. And during that time, during the time when I said that in 14th September 1960, he brought in a college of commissioner generals. Those are the people who are true. Then on 23rd January, he promoted himself from colonel to general, full general. Then I said a day after I was born, that is 17th July 1961, Patrick Lumumba disappeared. Patrick Lumumba disappeared. Nobody knew where Patrick Lumumba was. In that time, there was a province which was called Katanga, which wanted to secede. And you see, there are things that the people agree. Just like Eritrea wanted to come out of Ethiopia. So when they were overthrowing the president of Ethiopia, Mengistu El Mariam, Eritrea agreed with Tigray. So there are those provinces which want to, and if you want something, you agree with them. So Moise Tsumbe was the prime minister for Katanga. Katanga is just next to Uganda and Zambia. He wanted to start a country called Katanga. And since Kasavubu and Mobutu did not want Patrick Lumumba, with the help of the Belgium, with the help of CIA, they rounded. You see, the day Nani disappeared, kumbe they had rounded him and handed him over to Katanga. Why did they hand over him to Katanga? He was one person who really did not want even to hear that Katanga would form a country of itself. It is just like Jomo Kenyatta did not want Northeastern to be taken by shifter. So if you overthrow Jomo Kenyatta and take him to the shifters, I hope Kenyans have understood there. So it is at Katanga that he was badly killed, and even the Belgians themselves placed his body in acid. The only thing that remained was a tooth, which I think 3 or 4 years ago was given to his family. Then in 24th November 1965, he overthrew the government of Kasavubu and he became the president of Congo. That is 1 month. He was born, if you can remember, he was born on 14th October. And 24th November, that is 1 month and 10 days. 1 month and 10 days after he became 35 years old, he overthrew the government and installed himself the president. Now, wait for the episode where we start from the time he became the president to the time he was overthrown by another Desire Kabila.